All right, we are kicking it off, guys. Happy Friday. It is Fire Friday. And oh my goodness, it is already October 20th. October 20th. So as we're getting close to Halloween, we thought the scariest thing we could do would be to bring our friend Mitch Ribak in to talk to us. So we are so excited to have you guys here with us. Super fun. As you guys know, some of you are new to this and some of you are guests, but we talk about production and all kinds of other things to build success. Our group is called FYR, Fund Your Reason, and that's what it's all about. So we're really excited to talk about all of the things that you can do to build your business, build success, and get where you want to go. But on Fire Fridays, it's a special 30-minute segment where we talk about the agent attraction portion of the eXp Realty platform. So this is the opportunity to take advantage of an additional revenue stream at this company. And so we're going to talk about it. So I'm really, really excited today to have one of my good buddies, Mitch Ribak, here with us. Ribak, it's old habits, man. I'm trying to undo it. Mitch Ribak.
Yeah, even my younger brother says Ryback now. He gave up.
I love it. So yeah. So Mitch Ribak. So real quick, I'm gonna give you a quick intro, and then we're gonna dig into it because we don't have a ton of time. But Mitch is a serial entrepreneur. This is so cool. I love as we go through the facts and as we've gotten to know each other over the last 5-6 years or so. He has a really, really cool background. He developed the first online dating company, right? So how cool is that? How cool is that? So we swiped right for Mitch. Wanted to keep him here at eXp, so we're happy he's here. And he has built all kinds of businesses. He's built call centers and everything. He's been doing scripts and teaching people how to grow businesses. And then he built out a big brokerage, and he had his own brokerage down in Florida, Tropical Realty, and they were wildly successful. And he was doing all kinds of cool stuff. But running and owning a brokerage is a real deal. It's tough. It's tough stuff. And there's a lot of amazing stuff about doing it, and there's a lot of stuff that's really challenging. And so when Mitch was searching for, how does he go to his next level, right? How does he leverage it and build success? And he stumbled into eXp. So Mitch was the first large brokerage. He was the first broker owner to merge a large brokerage in with eXp Realty, really paving the way for what has become an incredible path for broker owners, incredible opportunity for the next evolution in their business career. So that's been a big gift, because now we're bringing on 350 plus independent brokerages every single year to eXp Realty. So pretty exciting stuff. But in addition to that, Mitch is he's a rocker. So he was jamming on his guitar when we first got in, before we let you guys in here. Credible musician. We've seen some really, really good pictures of Mitch with a lot of hair, and yeah, just as handsome with or without hair. So he has done so much in this industry and in many others. He's got an incredible business mind, and he's a lot of fun. And so we love him and his wife Jeanette, great buddies of ours. So I am going to let Mitch take over. And Mitch and I talked about the how do you approach brokerages, how do you why would people move, and all that other kind of stuff. But really, he can talk about anything agent attraction. So Mitch, I'm going to let you just tear up at it, and I'll jump in if you want us to go in any other direction, but you know how to do this.
Sure. We got 3 hours, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're here until 6 p.m.
Awesome. Yeah, I always tell people I used to be cool before all this shit happened, but yeah, it sneaks up on you. So all you younger people out there, this is your future. My favorite thing to do is when I'm at an event is find the guy with long hair down to here and say, "I used to be you. This is your future." It's so much fun. I do that to tall people too. I go, I used to be that tall, but
That's right. Just wait.
So, well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'm all about helping anybody that wants help. I don't care what group you're in or what I do. I have 35 hours a week, and whoever's on my calendar is on my calendar. It doesn't matter who they are. So I'll give you a quick background. Yeah, I'm a chronic serial entrepreneur. I've had 23 companies over the last 43 years. Crazy that I've been alive that long. It's actually surprising I made it through the 70s and 80s playing in a rock band, but that's a whole nother story. And so yeah, built. We'll get into real estate. Been in real estate for 22 years. Sold 1,000 homes or so. Sold 36 my first year without knowing a person, 50 my second, 80 my third, 80 my fourth. And then I started my brokerage. I call it the big lie. Actually writing a new book on it. Is that they teach you, you want to be a realtor and be successful, and you want to start a team, and then you want to start a brokerage. And it's really the big lie. It's just not really the reality. But I'll give you guys all the book when it comes out. Anyway, so I'll give you the quick story how I got here because I think it's important. And I will tell you that right now, and I was just telling Dave and Kristen before you guys get on, I just was out in Arizona yesterday meeting with a 300 agent brokerage. They're all coming. Brokers right now are freaking out. Right. And these guys are freaking out. I finally got out of them that they're not making any money. The only thing they have is driving business to their title company. They don't make any money. 300 agents are not making money. That's very typical. And so let me give you the background. I was 56 years old. I know I look like I'm 25, but I was 56 years old, and my dad died at 58. My mother died at 59. I think you start looking at life a little differently when you get closer to your parents' death age, right? And most of my uncles and aunts died in their 50s. So I didn't really plan on
I'm
living
good. How are you?
this long. But anyways, I was looking in the mirror. I do accountability. My mirror is my accountability partner. We talk every morning when I'm shaving, and it takes a while to shave all this. And we have conversations about my life. And so I was really looking in the mirror one day. I'm like, well, what happens if I die? I was a couple years away from when my dad died, and like, what happens if I die? And the reality is, my family got nothing, absolutely nothing. So the next step as a entrepreneur, I went to sell the company. I got offered $3.5 million from both Remax and Century 21. Decided to go the Century 21 route because Remax, there's a million of them here and they all hate each other. I didn't want to be involved in that environment. So we got down to the final negotiations, and then they explained to me how I was going to get paid, and that's where the fun became. And I won't say what I said because I won't swear on here because I promised Dave I'd keep my language clean. But
Mildly
if
clean.
Kristen wasn't on, I'd probably swear. But and because she still thinks I'm a nice guy. But so the way you get paid is you get a little money the first year, a little money the second year, and your final payment, which is about 70%, at least from Century 21, is based on the retention of the original agents. And I had 120 agents at the time. So I said, let me get it straight. So if you guys suck at what you do, and my agents go from 120 to 60, my payout goes from 3.5 to 1.75. And I said, that's the stupidest effing thing I've ever heard in my life. And I got up and walked out of the room. Literally just walked right out of the room. They're like, what? But I go, no buts. I go, I'm not relying my life on you guys. And I've been studying the EXP model for 2 years. I've met with Jason 3 times. But this is the biggest issue you're going to have with brokers is the ego. And my ego, president of the board in 2014, I was district vice president of the state. When I met Howard Fritz, who's my sponsor, right? Every time I say sponsor, I feel like I'm an alcoholic, which I might be, but I'm always I always say it. But anyways, so he kept in touch with me, which he did the right thing. Now he talked to me about rev share, which is the right thing. I don't talk about agents about rev share at all. I talked about production, but when I'm talking to a broker, you're talking if they're a broker that actually understands building a business, because a lot of brokers are not really business people, right? A lot of brokers are realtors that decide to open a brokerage. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're not running a business. So anyway, I had been studying the model for a couple of years since Howard introduced it to me. I loved the model, but I couldn't get past I was doing more volume when I met Jason Guessing the first time than EXP was doing. I was a little brokerage. They were national. I think they had about 400 agents at the time. And so it was tough. I liked the idea, and so I finally decided after that deal fell through. I fired 50 agents in about a week, and they were all the agents that cost me all my headaches. There were people who weren't selling property. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all the non-profitable people, and I was able to save $25,000-$30,000 a month off my overhead, my $100,000 a month overhead, and I got down to 65 agents. So I go meet Jason up in Inman again for the fourth time. Later found out Jason and I are very good friends now. Later found out that Jason had no desire to meet me at all. He knew I'd just say no again. Because again, nobody had done what I'm doing. And there wasn't somebody like me that you can call and say, hey, Mitch, get on a 3-way call with this broker, because there wasn't. So it was Dave Gagnon and Jason and a couple other people that aren't here anymore. I can't remember the name of the people actually. But anyways, so I met with Jason. I said, look, the hardest part for me is Tropical Realty is a big company here. We're well respected, we're well known, we do great transactions. He goes, well, just keep it. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, just be Tropical Realty Beachside brokered by EXP. And I almost slapped him in the head because I'm like, well, why did you tell me that 2 years ago? Because that probably would have solved that issue, which cost me millions of dollars, by the way. So anyway, so I went home and talked to my wife, and that was the hardest part because my wife, in her brain, still thinks I'm selling the company for 3.5 million. And my wife's a very wise woman. She's 4'9", so she's got all of her knowledge is in a very small pocket, so it's very compact. And she said to me, "Well, what's the worst case scenario?" And so the worst case scenario is I open Tropical Realty back up. The worst case scenario is I sold 80 homes a year. I can just go back to selling homes and get rid of all the stuff that was causing me all my stress. And by the way, my brokerage would have killed me. By the way, it literally physically would have killed. I don't think I would have lasted to 60 years old if I kept my brokerage. The stress level was so high. So anyways, came back, pulled 34 of my top agents in. 34 did 92% of our business, and they all said, "I, you think it's the right thing? Let's go." So we ended up moving over with 40. Might have been 45. I don't remember now. It's almost 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, but we'll say 40. And we lost 25 in the switch. My compliance manager, and keep in mind, there was only 50 agents in the whole state of Florida at the time. So there was like nobody in Florida. Um, my compliance manager stole 19 of my agents while I was paying his salary. I love ethical people. So cool. And then 6 people. Remember, every broker in the county, as soon as it got out that I was doing this, and I teach brokers how to transition better than I did. They all went, yeah, the brokers are like, even my friends, they're like, well, I go, why are you going after my agents? We had like an understanding. Well, you're not Tropical Realty anymore. I'm like, oh, you guys suck. So anyway, so we went over with 40. Of the 6 that actually sold homes, 3 of them will come back now. So we got half of them back. But now we're at just under 2,200 agents, 49 states, 7 countries. My wife got to retire, which was amazing. She could never have retired before financially. We couldn't afford to. A lot of the little unknowns about brokers. Everybody thinks you're rich, especially me. I drive nice cars. I wear nice suits. I obviously I look very rich, right? We're all broke. My best year as a broker, I made $200,000. My typical year, I made about 75, and I had several years that I made less than anything. So
So Mitch, real quick, because I want to ping out your the stuff that you're saying. I want to make sure everyone's really it's resonating with them so they understand that conversation because you're saying some really key items. Number one, you had 45 people-ish, right? So 45 people-ish coming over, and you're at roughly 2,200 people right now. How many years has that been?
6.5.
Sorry. So 6.5 years you went from, and you were up around 120 bodies at least, right? 120 bodies. And how long did it take you to get to 120 agents in Tropical?
13 years.
All right. So 13 years to get to 120, 6.5 years to then take the core group of that, your producers from that group and go to over 2,000 agents.
Right.
All right. And you're probably making about the same a month that you made on average annually from operating that brokerage.
Pretty much. I mean, we're hovering between $60,000 and $75,000 a month. And I do have a staff now and all that stuff because we have to manage stuff. So I don't net that much, but I still net more than I ever made at my brokerage.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and it's my new mission in life. It's stop chasing money and start chasing freedom.
Love that.
And I literally spent my entire life working 80 to 100 hours a week. And you know what I missed? Everything.
Yeah.
I missed my life. It's a really, that's why I'm writing this book, The Big Lie. I missed everything. And if you're not doing this part of the business, and no one's going to make you do it, right? You're missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you really think like a business person, you really have to start thinking like a business person. And a business person has multiple streams of income. I've never had just one. If I didn't have my coaching business, my ISA company, all the stuff that I did when I had my brokerage, I would have went bankrupt.
Yeah. And I think the time thing, right, when you look at it, because as a brokerage, to make what you were making as a brokerage before, right? But you were working 100 hours a week.
Yep.
And most of that is doing the what I call the necessary 80%, right? You got the 20% that drives your business forward and makes you money. And then you
Right.
have to do all of the necessary 80% that doesn't really make you any money, but it keeps your business in business, right? It's the stuff you have to do. And most of that stuff sucks. I mean, that's the stuff that's not usually congruent with our behavioral style. It's not the stuff that we usually like. It's usually painful and all of that kind of stuff. And you're spending that. So just keep that in mind when you talk. If you're talking to a broker owner, just understand, like, talk to them about where they're putting their time right now and what they're spending most of their time doing, right? And that where you're putting your time and what creates money for you. They're not able to grow or generate more income because so much of their time, and it's very similar to an agent sales business. If you don't have good systems in place and good leverage, you're spending all your time doing the administrative work of sales and not going out there and getting more business.
And I had great systems. I had 7 staff. I didn't, I run businesses. I mean, I've had a lot of companies. I run a company, right? But the reality is, who are they going to call still? Even though I had a sales manager, who did they call? They called the broker. And by the way, never called me up and said, Mitch, you're like the best guy in the world. Thank you so much for what you do. It was bitching and whining the whole time. And it was 10 to 20 calls every single day, 7 days a week. So my longest vacation, I think I took a 10-day vacation once. I just took off almost 6 weeks this summer over in Greece and Egypt and Boston, playing baseball at Fenway Park. I mean, awesome stuff. I'm fulfilling life dreams now because I missed all that time. So when I'm talking to young people right now, especially, I'm like, don't fall for the bullshit. Don't fall. It's a lie, right? You need to make sure that you're building yourself a solid business that works for you, not that you work for. And then one of the classes I teach, and we can do this for your group at some point, Dave. It's a really good class I put together. Call it, you building a business or building a job.
Mm,
And
love
most people, almost all of you have built a really sucky job.
that. Yes.
You have. I mean,
That's
it's
so
just a
true, though.
reality.
That's where most people find themselves, and they don't know how to
Yeah.
get out of it, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. So this is and then the other part of this that's really important to understand why I made the switch is, my granddaughter has a rare disease, and I had no assets, I had no money to take care of her. Now, if I died today while I'm on this call, which would suck for you guys, be fine for me. But the
Right.
my wife just takes over. And my son is a lawyer. He's getting licensed right now. He just takes over. We both die. My granddaughter, who's 17, will be 18 in March. As soon as she turns 18, she knows she's getting a license. Not to ever sell a house ever, because I'll kill her if she does, but for the longevity of the business. So I want to talk to you. We only have a little bit of time. I want to make sure we hit some good points here. So brokers are gettable, right? Very gettable, but you can't go to a broker and say, hey, join EXP. You throw a BXP all over them, they're going to go, whatever. So first, just like I do on the agent attraction, I've attracted personally about 110 agents, which is about 1.5 per month. That's always been my goal, is 1 to 2 a month. Is you want to build relationships with people that you have, and some of them might be saying, I'd love to find out more about your business, but somewhere in there you have to ask, what's the end game? Because that's the question. What's the end game? What's your exit strategy? How do you get out of the business? I've been thinking about starting a brokerage. I love being at EXP, but I've always wanted to own my own business. But what's the exit strategy? Now, the challenge you'll have is the majority of brokers won't give you a lot of detail as an agent. So that's when you take advantage of me. And like I said at the beginning of this call, I will help anybody that wants help. Just get on my calendar. So if you're talking to a broker, get me on a call, right? Because if you get me on the call, they can't lie to me. I know the answers. So it's really important to have a broker talking to a broker, and they'll open up. Even at our meeting yesterday, we had Sean Murphy, vice president of growth, myself, and Dennis D'Souza, my biggest general, and the guy that brought us to the meeting. And but the questions that I asked were more about, what does he love about having a brokerage? What's your succession plan? You're all in your 70s, and they didn't have one, right? And his wife's sitting there. There's a video, if you guys want to write this in. It's Mitch Ribak Jeanette. If you go to YouTube, it's a great video to give brokers. It's all about how Jeanette's life and our relationship has changed since we merged with EXP. It's very powerful. You will cry. Everybody cries. Even I cry. I've watched it like 100 times and I cry every time. Maybe it's because I'm a wimp now, but when you talk to brokers, it's really, I'm just curious what your exit strategy is. And what do you love about being a broker? What don't you like about being a broker? They'll laugh at that, by the way, because they don't like most about being a broker. But what they all do like is they love helping their agents, the ones that are swimming. I'll use Dave's line, swimming toward them. They hate chasing agents. That's what you do as a broker. Hey, how come you didn't go to the meeting today? Hey, how come you didn't? Did you do an open house this weekend? But they hate the rest of it. They hate the transactional part of it. They hate the 50 calls a day. I mean, literally, I went from 15 to 20 calls a day. I get 3 to 5 a week now. Actually, I don't think I even get that many anymore. So I'm living the life. Here's my favorite line to brokers. I started my brokerage for freedom and leverage, and I got babysitting in prison, and now I truly have freedom and leverage. And this is the only model that you can actually do it and do this correctly, with having the people like Dave and myself and Kristen to help you get there. Because we all want you to be there. We all want you to feel this. The feeling of freedom. That's why my whole motto is stop chasing money, start chasing freedom. Is how do we get you from here to here? And it's one step at a time. It's not a get rich quick scheme. If you do it correctly and attract correctly, it's really not that difficult. Right. And I'll give you a couple of quick tips, and then I'll open it up to any questions because we only got 7 more minutes. I have 2 or 3 hours, so as much time as you want. But
Yeah, we could keep you going for a week, I think.
yeah. But so how do you start? Everybody asks, how do you start? It's no different than in real estate. You have to build a foundation when you're a realtor, and the foundation is where are my customers, which is always your sphere of influence, which by the way, nobody ever does, which drives me crazy. But anyways, it's the same thing. Every realtor you have, make a list of every realtor you know. But here's the caveat: nobody teaches this part, which is my favorite part, because this is how I did it by accident. By the way, you rank that list of people by relationship, because you know who'll talk to you, your friends. They might not join, but at least they'll listen to you, right? And I'll give you what to say to them. Say, I've really not done much of this attraction thing with EXP, and I know this probably isn't for you. I love takeaways. I know this probably isn't for you, but will you do me a favor and watch this video? And I don't care if I don't know if Dave has a video, or my video, or Brent's video. I don't care what video is saying. I don't like the 9-minute videos because they're too short. They don't give enough information. Mind you, check out themodel.com if you want to check it out. That's actually good for a broker too, because I talk about moving the brokerage over. And so you rank it by relationship. You say, friends, can you do me a favor and watch this video for me? I just want to hear when I'm talking to other realtors what the objections will be. And they'll watch it. Now, the reality is if they get some sort of a business mind, they're going to be intrigued after they watch the video, right? And then when they say, when you call them back, I really, instead of going over the objections with me, can you get, again, Dave my Dave on a call? I want to hear how Dave answers the objections, right? Because the most important part of this is the 3-way call. I didn't do this right for the first 18 months. And then I said to Pat, my GM, I said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go meet everybody. And so I went and flew out and met with Rob Flick, Gene, everybody. Everybody was big in our company. I met with all of them for 6 months. And they all followed the exact same model. Get them to watch the video, get them on a 3-way call, and then follow up. The bigger people, and I'll give you this analogy too, real quick. The bigger people, the harder to get over, only because they have a lot of moving parts. So I'm a baseball player, right? Played up until 15 years ago, my whole life. And one of the things that I do is I do analogies with baseball. So my agents that are 3 to 10 transactions are base hits. They're singles. My people that are cappers are doubles. My icon agents are triples, and my brokerages and teams are home runs. So most baseball players make a living on singles and doubles. I did. I was a 600 hitter by all singles and doubles. Those are your bread and butter. They also build out your FLQAs, which is, as we know, when you get bigger, is the most important part of your organization, right? And so if you think about that, if you're always going for home runs, you're going to get some here and there, but they're far and few between. So you want to make sure you're getting singles and doubles along the way. So you're building your organization. And then every once in a while, you get a spark plug. Like I brought on a kid a couple weeks ago, 27-year-old kid. I think he might be 28 now. $10 million this year, second year in the business. I brought on 4 people, 2 weeks, and didn't expect him to do that at all. He's like, I like this part of the business. So you never know. And then the other thing that's really important that I want to point out, I don't even know if you know this, Dave. I didn't make 2 phone calls to 2 of my friends, Dan Bear and Carlos Germain.
Oh,
And I would have 13,000 people now. And they both said to me when they found out I was with DXP, why didn't you call me? I mean, Dan joined after somebody he didn't know. And Carlos did, but they both said, I coached both of them. And they're like, why didn't you call me? And so I was afraid to call people because I was afraid of them saying no. How stupid is that?
that's an expensive lesson, Mitch.
Yeah, I would. So instead of making, 850,000 this year, I would be making $3 or $4 million this year. Yeah. Don't tell my wife.
Yeah, that's right. Kristen's texting her right
Yeah.
now.
So I mean that's base. I mean I could talk about this stuff for hours, but any questions that you want answered or
Yeah, we got a couple minutes. If anybody has a burning question on this, this is really good stuff.
Can you put in the chat the link to that video that you said, because you said you didn't like the 9-minute videos?
It's already in there.
And
Yeah, I
you
think
said
they
like
did
Yeah.
Kristen threw it in there. So we've got a link to
We're gonna put it in
Mitch's
WordPress.
YouTube channel,
Yeah.
as well as specifically the link to the his model video and a couple of other things. And then we'll put it in Workplace too. And we share all this out. So that way, Kat, I know you're driving, so it'll all be there for you.
Yeah.
and don't hesitate to use me guys for broker conversations. I love them. I've done hundreds of them. And most of the people I talk to join. And from an agent's perspective, we're about 90%. From a broker, I don't track it, but I was doing broker calls for the company for a year and a half. So I literally have done hundreds and hundreds of them, and they're fun, keep them fun.
I would say it's the same concept as if you're a new agent. I have people that say, hey, I'm a brand new agent. I can't get a top producing agent to join, right? And I would say that is only partially true, right? Because you can't necessarily, you don't know their world, right? You don't know what their pain points are and that kind of stuff like that. And so it may be hard to fully close them on your own, but you certainly can open the door with a conversation. You have a relationship. Hopefully there's a trust relationship there. If nothing else, it's your enthusiasm about the opportunity. And then it's your connection to someone else who can speak their language, who has been where they have been and has gone to the next step. So the nice thing about having somebody like Mitch, having somebody like myself, having somebody, I see Chuck Roberts on here, Brett Davis on here. We got a couple of folks on here who have owned brokerages, right? We've owned brokerages. We've been to that level, and now we're here. And we're not here because our businesses were failing. We're here because we wanted to go to the next level beyond that. And so I think that's important, where we can explain the evolution of why would someone do it. Because you have to break through, as Mitch pointed out, it is almost always the ego that prevents someone from moving. Opening up your brokerage, you're either, look, I've tried a couple of different brokerages, and one of two things was happening. Either our business wasn't being served at the highest level, or financially it didn't make sense for me. They were taking too much money for what they were providing. But another thing is also, I want it to be my name on the sign, Dave Conord Realty, right? I want everyone to be working for me. I want to be the broker. So, then you get there and go, man, this isn't really what I had in mind. And then what do you do? Because it looks like you failed if you shut it down, and they have to get beyond that in their head. And so showing them how it's not a failure to take this opportunity, it's actually the next level of success. And so we can explain why that is, and it makes a big difference. And I think because Mitch has that experience level, he can talk to them at that level, bringing in someone who has been there. And again, going from that couple hundred agents to a couple thousand agents, and the increase in income, that gets attention quickly.
But it's also, most importantly, it's the life. It's like you don't have a life as a broker. You just don't. I mean, if you're running obviously, if you have a 10-agent brokerage, you're full-time in production because you only have 3 agents, and the number is 30%, by the way. So if they tell you that they have 10 agents, that means they have 3. Right. And it's consistent right across the board. Everybody I've ever talked to, it's 30%. And there's no life. And I love when I talk to a broker, I'm talking about their life. It's a really easy conversation for me because I was them. And they can't lie. I'll call them out. I'm like, come on. I go, don't you love when you bring someone up to there, you get them there and they come in and knock on the door and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? You're the best mentor I ever had, but I'm going to go over there now. I mean, it's a pain point, right?
Yeah.
But sure. Yeah, it's great stuff. There's so many tools out there for you guys to grow this part of the business, but it's one person at a time. Like I said, the brokerages are home runs, but get your feet wet. You're going to make mistakes. My favorite line, Rob Flick told me when I went on this little tour, was don't be attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
90% are going to tell you no.
Yeah, definitely. I see Chuck. Chuck, what you got, buddy?
Well,
Mitch, I love your story, and I love the fact that you just got to go to 6 weeks to Greece. That's pretty awesome. I love that. I would say, just to support what you were saying there, I had two of the largest real estate companies in my area before I made the transition over. And I remember driving by people that had 100, 150, agents inside of their brokerage and saying, they're broke. They're broke.
Yeah.
Whoever's running that thing is broke. And it's just because of what you shared. It's just, there's the money from the brokerage standpoint has changed so drastically, and this is the only way to go. So good work.
Yeah, thank you. And congrats on making that move, because it's a tough move. It's a really scary move. It's not, so don't take it lightly, guys, when you're talking to brokers. It is scary as hell. A little more nicer now because there's people like myself and Chuck that have done this, but it's still scary. You've got to face the public now. And the public is, oh, you loser, you failed. They're not gonna, but they think that, right? And so you have to have it. But I'll give you two really quick examples. Talking to a broker right now in Orlando, 15 agents. Like, how'd you do in 2022? Oh, we killed it. It was unbelievable. My team's amazing and love them. I go, well, let me look at your numbers. And if this isn't for you, I will tell you that. And by the way, I will. If it's not for them, I'll say, no, you're doing awesome. And there have been a couple of brokerages, by the way, that are killing it, that are doing well. They have a good model and they're good business people and doing it. So I pull all her numbers out, because you have to do that when you're looking at a brokerage. So you pull all the brokers. The brokerage in 2022 lost $7,500.
Yeah.
So you had no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Met with a brokerage up in Hoboken, 350 agents, average sale $1 million. 2022 numbers, they made $104,000. We couldn't help him. He's got 5 big leases for 5 or 10 years on them. I mean, couldn't help him. He wasn't somebody we could do with,
And Mitch, how many brokerages have we spoken to where they literally could not tell us how much they made or lost? Right? They're not tracking it. They're running their brokerage like their real estate sales business, which is so many agents. They got their credit card and their debit card, and they got whatever, and they got things coming in and money coming in, money coming out. And as long as they're, as long as when they put their debit card in the little machine, it says approved, then they're okay, right? And that's all. That's the only way they're tracking their finances. Well, I have talked, and I know Mitch, you have too, and I've talked to so many broker owners where when I said, great, well, tell you what, let's take a look at your P&L, and and then and they're like, all right, well, let me get that together for you. And like 2 weeks go by, I'm like, hey, and they're embarrassed to let me know I don't have a P&L, right? I don't have a, their business is run, they kind of, again, the same thing. If they could write checks from the business account, and sometimes they did it from the personal credit card, and it just, there is no business structure to it. So when you break it down for them and you break down and go, great, well, let's go in, let's pull the production of your agents, let's pull your general expenses. And then we go through and I go, man, your business is costing you a lot of money right now. And again, without their own production in most cases, the reason they're making money is because they have their own production, and that's it.
I still had to sell 30 homes a year.
Yeah.
To make sure. So, my biggest thing was I didn't want my wife to know how bad we were financially. So I killed myself, right? But I was selling all that stuff just to make my wife so she could buy her purses, because I don't understand the whole purse thing.
I don't either.
But I didn't, it was hard because, you're sitting there. So what does that do? And by the way, I'm sure I'm very typical of most brokers. They don't want to tell their spouse they're not making any money out that. So they're doing other things to get money in, but their brokerage isn't working. And the stress level, like I said, I literally don't think I would have made it 4 more years. I think I would have died sometime between 56 and 60 with my family history and stress level that I was under. Every January and February was out of business, literally out of business, because nobody works in November and December because it's the holidays. I never understood that. I don't work in a whole 2 months because it's the holidays. But every January, if this is out of business, this is me every single year, and I literally spent 3 months with no sleep, zero sleep, and the heart palpitations and every Yeah, look at me. I'm 32 years old. Look what I look like. Anyway.
Well, we're at the top. We're at the top of our segment. So we're gonna wrap it up. But man, first of all, Mitch, thank you so much for coming on here. I always appreciate your candor and just lay it right out there, tell it like it is. And I appreciate that about you. And this is This is so helpful. It's helpful to me to hear your personal experience. It's helpful to all of us to, to hear this and have this conversation. And keep in mind, guys, a brokerage is just an expanded version of an agent's business, right? And so the things that you're hearing here, there's a direct correlation to what's happening in most agent businesses. So the same types of conversations that we're talking about here, you can talk to any agent and understand their business and understand most of them are, sucking wind during the end of the year, beginning of the year, right? When sales are slow and everything else like that. And then they hope to make up for it during the spring market. They're putting everything on their credit card and then they hope to pay off that credit card in the spring. Right. And that's so typical out there in business. So guys, just remember that all of this, really goes across the board in conversation. So it's helpful information. And then, relationships, having relationships with people and saying, listen, I really want to see if this is an opportunity to provide, a new step for you, right? And then bring them in. You've got me here. You've got a couple of other folks in our FYR group. We've got people like Mitch who are so generous with his time, and that kind of stuff who are, can really help you out. So the opportunity is there, and it is there now like it has never been before. There are a lot of folks that are really wondering what they're going to be doing moving forward, and they're nervous. And the old day, you used to be able to get a big check for your brokerage. That doesn't happen anymore. Those days are gone. So they're really kind of wondering what to do. So there's a big opportunity out there. We can help you capitalize on it, take advantage of it. Let's bring groups of people in to EXP and help them out, help the agents get to the next level, help those broker owners figure out where to go next with their business. And they don't have to be failing, by the way, for this to be an amazing opportunity. You can be succeeding at a really high level, but it still means you're talking about some time and expenses and liability and a whole bunch of other things like that. And they just can't scale. They can't
expansion. Scale. Don't forget expansion.
Yeah.
My original goal was 110 offices from here all the way to San Diego along the coast, Tropical Realty, right? All along the entire water. And that was my original plan until I got to the brokerage and realized how much brokerage sucks. And now I'm in 49 states and 7 countries. I could never have possibly done what I've done today.
Yeah.
In a brokerage.
Love it. Yeah. Well, Mitch, thanks again, man. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Have an awesome weekend. Keep focusing, guys, on funding your reason. Okay. Don't forget, don't get bogged down in the day-to-day, right? It's not time to make the donuts. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Mitch, thank you, brother. We love you.
Of course. See you guys. Be good. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.